Jose Mourinho is, statistically at least, Manchester United's most successful manager since Alex Ferguson. In less than 2.5 years at Old Trafford, Mourinho achieved Manchester United's highest points tally of the post-Fergie era and the club's joint highest league finish as Premier League runners-up, in addition to winning the Community Shield, the EFL Cup, and most notably the Europa League. Jose's time at Old Trafford was defined by the rising star of Marcus Rashford, the goals and performances of veteran centre-forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and, above all else, the inspired form of David De Gea, who was, quite possibly, the best goalkeeper in the world during that time. However, in Manchester United's final game of the 2016-17 Premier League season, and in what was Wayne Rooney's last start for the club, none of those players got a kick. That's because Manchester United were already guaranteed of a 6th place finish in the Premier League, regardless of their result at home to Crystal Palace. And in only 3 days' time, they would face Ajax in Stockholm in the final of the Europa League. So Jose rang the changes, naming a very young, inexperienced, and unusual Manchester United starting 11, including 4 debutants, which had an average age of just 22 years and 284 days old. Perhaps, unsurprisingly, 5 years on, not many of those players are still at Manchester United. And that got me thinking, do you know what? That might make for quite an interesting video. Here is Jose Mourinho's strangest Manchester United 11. Where are they now? Joel Castro Pereira, HITC Sevens. Manchester United's third-choice goalkeeper during the 2016-17 season, partly because Sam Johnston was on loan at Aston Villa, Joel Castro Pereira only ever played 3 games for Manchester United, despite spending 9 years at the club. In fairness, Pereira only actually spent 6 years as a first-team player at Old Trafford, and during that time, he went out on loan 6 times. His start against Crystal Palace on the final day of the 2016-17 Premier League season was Pereira's first and only start in a Manchester United shirt, despite the fact that he kept a clean sheet. The 25-year-old Brazilian only actually left Manchester United in the summer of 2021 following loan moves to Hearts and Huddersfield Town, and he now plays for HITC Sevens, who are looking to avoid relegation from the Eredivisie this season. Irritatingly for Pereira, one would imagine, he still isn't first choice in the Netherlands, having made just 2 appearances so far this season as Etienne Wijnaldum's deputy. Although David De Gea was rested on the final day of the season against Crystal Palace, he didn't start for the Red Devils in the Europa League final either. Sergio Romero was Mourinho's cup goalkeeper all season, and he retained his starting berth and kept a clean sheet in the final against Ajax. Romero now plays for full-time fashion aficionados and part-time football club Venezia over in Syria. Timothy Fosu-Mensah, Bayer Leverkusen. From a former Manchester United man who now plays in the Netherlands to one who plays for the Netherlands, Timothy Fosu-Mensah joined Manchester United from Ajax as an academy player in 2014. He was part of Mourinho's matchday squad in the Europa League final against his former club, but he didn't start. Instead, he played a full 90 minutes at right back against Crystal Palace. The following season, Fosu-Mensah joined Palace on a season-long loan deal, linking up with his compatriot Frank de Boer, who wouldn't last long in South London. A season on loan at Fulham followed, where Fosu-Mensah seriously damaged his cruciate ligament, requiring surgery. The Dutchman, who has been capped 3 times by the Netherlands, never really bounced back from that long-term injury setback at Old Trafford, and in January 2021, following 6.5 years and 30 appearances in a Manchester United shirt, Fosu-Mensah left the club. He joined Bayer Leverkusen for a nominal fee of around £1.5 million, where, bitterly unfortunately, he suffered an even more serious cruciate ligament injury, a rupture this time, which ruled him out for almost an entire another year. Aged 24, Fosu-Mensah has recovered from that injury now, though he is currently sidelined with a hamstring injury, and all of those injuries mean that he has only played 15 games for Leverkusen to date. Eric Bailly, Manchester United. Speaking of injury-prone footballers, Eric Bailly hasn't had the best time in terms of staying fit since signing for Manchester United from Villarreal in 2016. The Ivorian made a blistering start to life at Old Trafford before suffering a nasty knee injury just 2 months into his debut campaign. That was a sign of what was sadly to come for Bailly, who has had a whole series of injuries at Old Trafford which have disrupted his form and left him looking rather inconsistent even when he's fit. He had bounced back successfully from that knee injury in the 2016-17 season though, and he would have started for Manchester United in the Europa League final were it not for the fact that he was suspended, having been sent off in the 88th minute of the Red Devils semi-final second leg against Celta Vigo. That freed him up for the game against Palace, as Chris Smalling and Daley Blind started at centre-back in the final against Ajax. Bailly is still at Manchester United, having signed a 3-year contract extension in 2021, though he has only made 7 appearances in all competitions so far this season. Phil Jones, Manchester United. It is difficult to think of a player over the past 10 to 15 years who has seen their reputation as a footballer deteriorate as rapidly as Phil Jones has without any major scandals off the pitch. 9 years ago, Sir Alex Ferguson said that Jones could become Manchester United's best ever player, following the youngster's impressive start to life at Old Trafford. Ferguson had seen off competition from the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool to sign Jones, who played 41 times under him during his debut campaign, in a season which he began as a 19-year-old. However, over the course of the 9 years since then, Jones has been relegated to the status of a meme who exists as much as a joke within an online sphere and on football Twitter, as much as he does as an actual footballer. Over the past 3 years, Jones has only played 3 Premier League games, despite, statistically at least, having been Manchester United's best player in his only outing this season. Nonetheless, despite his long-term absence, injury problems, and disfavour among managers, Jones is still contracted to the Red Devils, having signed a new deal in 2019, which will run until the summer of 2023, with the option of another year. Demetri Mitchell, Hibernian. Making his Manchester United debut against Crystal Palace on the final day of the 2016-17 Premier League season, that was the only game that Demetri Mitchell ever played for the Red Devils, in any competition, which also means that he kept a clean sheet and played for a full 90 minutes in every one of his Manchester United appearances. A regular for England, particularly at under-17 level, Mitchell was born in Manchester, but has expressed an interest in representing Jamaica, which is where his grandparents are from. Like his fellow fullback that afternoon, Timothy Fosu-Mensah, Mitchell has had a horrible time with injuries since that game, most notably cartilage damage that he suffered on loan at Hearts. Following 18 months at Hearts, Mitchell joined Blackpool on a permanent basis, where he won promotion from League One, and in January 2022, following half a season in the Championship, the 25-year-old joined Hearts' bitter Edinburgh rivals Hibernian on a 2.5-year deal. Scott McTominay, Manchester United. A man who was fortunate not to see red last week in Manchester United's 1-1 draw with Leicester, Scott McTominay is of course still at Old Trafford, and he is the most active member of the Red Devils matchday squad from the final day of the 2016-17 season now. McTominay has played 165 games for Manchester United, where he is a one-club man, having never even gone out on loan anywhere else. But his start against Crystal Palace, almost 5 years ago, was his very first for the club, and only his second appearance whatsoever. A midfielder who tends to divide opinion, I always think McTominay looks much more assured in a Scotland shirt than in a Manchester United shirt, as though he thrives when he knows that his place in the team is a bit more solid, and I suspect that he would do an equally solid job for a mid-table Premier League team. No, I don't mean Manchester United. Someone from 8th downwards. McTominay signed a new deal at Old Trafford in 2020, which will keep him under contract at the club until 2025. Axel Tuanzebe, Napoli. Axel Tuanzebe is primarily a centre-back, who sometimes provides cover at right-back, but on the final day of the 2016-17 season, he made only his second start for Manchester United in holding midfield. A former Manchester United young player and reserve team player of the year winner, Twanzebe was born in DR Congo, but his family relocated to England when he was 4 years old, very kindly taking him with them, and he represented England at 3 different youth team levels. Now aged 24, Twanzebe has played 37 times for Manchester United in total, in addition to making 46 appearances for Aston Villa, where he has gone on loan in 3 separate seasons. Twanzebe spent the first half of this season on loan at Aston Villa, before being recalled by Manchester United, according to his agent, because of Steven Gerrard's appointment and his supposed favouritism towards Liverpool and their rivalry with the Red Devils. Twanzebe subsequently joined Napoli on loan in Serie A, and alongside his talents as a footballer, Twanzebe broke the Guinness World Record for the fastest time to clear a game of Hungry Hungry Hippos whilst on Manchester United's pre-season tour of Los Angeles in July 2018. His record was eventually broken on my 24th birthday, which was a coincidence as far as I'm aware, January 30th, 2020, by American Donald McNeil, who said that he felt Twanzebe's record had stood for far too long. This sounds like something that I would make up, but I promise you it is true. Paul Pogba, Manchester United. The only player who started for Manchester United in their final game of the 2016-17 Premier League season and in the Europa League final just 3 days later, following a month out injured, Jose Mourinho clearly wanted to get some minutes into Paul Pogba's legs before that final. He played the first 45 minutes for the Red Devils against Palace, grabbing 1 goal and 1 assist. And suitably impressed, Mourinho started the Frenchman in the Europa League final against Ajax, where he opened the scoring in another 2-0 win. Pogba was by far the most significant signing of Jose Mourinho's time at Manchester United, arriving for a world record £89 million fee during his first summer in charge. Pogba's return to Old Trafford has heralded mixed results, shall we say, and 6 years and 223 appearances later, it seems almost certain that he will depart for nothing at the end of this season. Jesse Lingard, Manchester United. Playing on the right side of a front 3 against Crystal Palace in May 2017, Jesse Lingard wouldn't start against Ajax in the Europa League final, but he would be involved. Like Paul Pogba, he played only one half of football against Palace, and 3 days later, he replaced goalscorer Henrik Mkhitaryan on the left flank against Ajax after 74 minutes. Lingard played over 40 games for Manchester United for the second successive season in 2016-17, and the following season would be his best yet, as he scored 13 goals and made 7 assists in 48 outings before enjoying a strong World Cup campaign with England. Lingard's game time reduced after that, and despite having seemingly no intention whatsoever of playing him this season, and Lingard having enjoyed an excellent half-season on loan at West Ham last season, the Red Devils refused to sell him either last summer or in January. Lingard has only played 392 minutes of football in all competitions this season, and with his current contract up at the end of this season, he looks set to leave Manchester United, after more than 20 years at the club, for absolutely nothing. Wayne Rooney, Derby County manager. Playing as a number 9, despite wearing the number 10 shirt, in a position where he scored so many goals over the years for Manchester United, Wayne Rooney significantly bumped up the average age of a very young team in his final start for the club. Having joined Manchester United in the summer of 2004 from Everton as only an 18-year-old, Rooney went on to score 253 goals in 559 games for the club, breaking Sir Bobby Charlton's record as the club's all-time record goalscorer. Rooney was replaced just 2 minutes from time against Palace to a standing ovation at Old Trafford, with an understanding that it would be his final game at the Theatre of Dreams. It wouldn't be Rooney's last ever appearance for the club, however, as he came on in the 90th minute for Manchester United in place of Juan Mata in the Europa League final. Following moves to Everton and DC United, Rooney took up a job as player coach at Derby County in January 2020. In November 2020, the manager who signed him, Philip Cocu, was sacked, and Rooney has been fighting fires as the troubled Championship side's boss for the last 12 to 18 months. Josh Harrop, Fleetwood Town. Wayne Rooney might be Manchester United's all-time record goalscorer, but it is Josh Harrop who has the best goals per game record of anyone from their forward line within this 11. The Stockport native made his Manchester United debut against Crystal Palace in the final game of the 2016-17 Premier League season, and he found the back of the net, scoring an outstanding opening goal only 15 minutes into the match. It was a dream debut for Harrop, who played a full 90 minutes, but it would also be his only 90 minutes in a Manchester United shirt. That summer, he rejected a contract offer from the club and decided to drop down into the Championship instead, signing a 4-year deal for nearby Preston North End. Harrop scored 4 goals in 39 games for Preston during his debut campaign, and at the start of the following season, he suffered an ACL injury which ruled him out for an entire year. It must be said, the players in this 11, as a general rule, have had pretty poor fortune in relation to injuries. Harrop is still contracted to Preston, but he failed to score in 15 games on loan at Ipswich Town last season, and he has only played 4 minutes of football since signing for Fleetwood on loan in the January transfer window. That was, arguably, Jose Mourinho's most unusual starting 11 at Manchester United, and where those players are now, but we'll also rattle through the substitutes just for good measure. Substitute goalkeeper Kieran O'Hara is now a teammate of Josh Harrop's at Fleetwood Town. Defender Daley Blind still plays for Ajax and the Netherlands. Experienced midfield metronome Michael Carrick left Manchester United as a first-team coach last December following a brief stint as the club's caretaker boss after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was sacked. Young midfielders Matty Willock and Angel Gomez now play for Salford City and Lille respectively. Meanwhile, centre-forward Zach Dearnley, who never played a first-team game for Manchester United, now plays for Halifax Town. And finally, Anthony Martial joined Sevilla on loan from Manchester United during the January transfer window. That is it for today's video, but thank you all very much as ever for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on social media